All right. Greetings, and oh my goodness, I can't stop. I'm going to try to get used to the camera a little bit. Here's my little capybara. And part of today, I was just, oh, it is a funky angle, isn't it? All right, greetings, and here I am today with my capybara. And why my capybara? Well, a few months ago, I went and bought it. It was at a store. It was really cool. But more than anything, I had a shift that started happening around that time in December. And the energy of the capybara is one where they are so very chill. And if you look at YouTube, there's videos of them all climbed on top of each other. Some of the capybara, one of them is a capybara flying on a bird, another on a crocodile. No idea if they're true or not, but you know what? If you look at capybaras and the real ones, they're absolutely chill. They are amazing, amazing creatures. They find themselves everywhere easily, like it's some game of how do we do the craziest thing possible. And you would think for how they are, they're not very survival focused, but boy, they're very effective at surviving and doing everything. You know what? They're effective at thriving. And the reality is, with where things are going in the next stage of our evolution in the next world, we can be in a state of fear, or we can understand that we've come here. We have come here for this next phase, the difficulty of what it will be with the turnover of the world. One of the youngest memories I have in this life is before I was 5 even, is that I came here to this world, to the earth, to be born, to experience the transition of the new era, to usher in the new era is the wording that I have had, to experience it. My not knowing and hearing about the negatives, I always thought I was the one creating them in some way, and it freaked me out. I really just wanted to be like, no, I don't want to create that. I don't want to, like, why are we doing this? And I kind of understand at this point that it's happening. We have all chosen as a group, as a collective, as the people, as the beings that are higher, to go in this new route, because this old way, it's done with. We are done here. It doesn't mean life is over. It means that the experiences we've had of coming from lack, coming from the negatives, coming from these places of, oh gosh, how do you say it? Of the world is brutal and everything else. We're kind of done with this experience. We've done it. We've experienced it. It's now starting to come from a place of united as one. We have it within us, the coding, to be part of everything. We are not separate in any way. We are not some lost being that is just suddenly being born and why am I here? Why am I on earth? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And the truth is, if we look at it that way, it really doesn't. But when we realize we are like a cell on earth, and that is part of the experience, and we're actually one with everything in the world, everything, everywhere, and us are connected. There is nothing on this earth not connected to us. It's just we've disconnected it. We have stopped ourselves from feeling these things and talking to the trees and talking to other beings. And you know, one of the conversations I had with a friend today is, in the Quran, it says that God will lead us astray if that is what we are choosing. And it's not that he leads us astray, it is that we are intent inside as something, and that in itself is leading us astray, and he will let us have that experience. And it depends on the translation, mind you. Some of them will say he misguides, but it's really about our choice, our intent. If you look at other parts and other areas, it shares the the perspective in a more full manner. It's not like you can read one part and know it all. It's the more that you read in sections, the more that the insights are being shared more fully with more depth. And I'm not here to advocate to someone to say, hey, you need to go look at the Quran. No, it actually is something I never thought I would do in my past, and it is something that I am doing now. I felt it was time to read it. Why? It's just a book of information. It's all the information is really in there, very clearly spoken out. And it really depends, unfortunately, on the translation. You can get some really terrible translations, just like the King James Bible. I won't go into that because that's going to be another can of worms with people. But in general, the aspect is, it is wisdom that is there for all of us all the time, whether we get it from one way or another. It's not just for humans. The wisdom in there is for all of us, all beings, all dimensions, all worlds, all places. It is helpful everywhere. The question really becomes, where is our heart? How are we going to interpret it? How are we going to put our beliefs on top of this information? And one of the easiest ways to look at it is, if you have a translation of the Quran and it is in the name of the Almighty, the most merciful, and they don't say the most gracious, the most merciful, or the most gracious, the most forgiving, the most merciful, you are probably going to be looking at a version that misses most of the most important parts of what is spoken about in the Quran. And one of these parts is grace and mercy. Why they go together is actually very key. You cannot have grace without mercy, and mercy is required to really have grace. All right? In the manner of grace brings mercy, but mercy also brings grace. It's a paradoxical aspect. If we understand ourselves that we are in a paradox constantly, we are in two places. One where everything is perfect all the time, we call that heaven. But our understanding of heaven is so limited with the linear mind and the capabilities, versus when we are truly understanding of the paradox of, this is me, I'm here right now, but I know this is my experience. I've come here for a perspective. And in this perspective, well, I'm a big guy. I've gone through a lot of health issues, a lot of difficulties that I've come to overcome and experience in, and well, that was part one. Part two is something else. And it is to experience the next parts of the world. And part of that is experiencing how to heal my own body much faster. I'm aware that I am healing my body in different ways. And the clearings that we're getting right now are just so much. Even yesterday, I was a different being. Even today, I'm a different being than I was. I had some stuff leave me earlier today that has let me be more free, more me, more connected to all things, more of the experience I came to have for my part two. And I say part two because of our transition. This transition that we're having, you might look at Surah 81 in the Quran. They talk about it, the rollover, or the day of judgment. The day of judgment, people take as some apocalyptic thing, and in a way, yes, it is. There are two parts to it. There is our own death in old age, and then there is the consciousness, the eras that we are in that also traverse to give us a different experience of that ending. Endings come in different forms, and not just one way, not just one life, not just one perspective. They happen in different times, in different ways, with different things. And the main thing to really think about here is, if we are in two places, and this isn't our only life, the other part we are in is without time, without experience. Without experience is the key part. Everything is. It just is. So we are here, and we are experiencing time. The time is the illusion. It's all right here, right now. So when you allow yourself to grasp that perspective, it's not when you understand with the mind. It's when you start understanding here in the heart. This is the era where we are now moving back into our hearts. We have explored the concept of the mind. We have explored the concepts of lack. And now we're going to go into a world where we're going to unite more fully, but not with a government like in the past. Those people that want to control us, people that want to run us, they're going to find it very difficult when their hearts aren't open and the rollover starts, because they're going to see people leave and they're not going to understand it. Surah 81 talks about the rollover because it is the time for us to decide for ourselves. Everything is laid open. We are aware. And if you're choosing to not be aware, you're choosing to go into another way that you're not going to really enjoy as much. And you're welcome to. No one needs to go in the one direction. That's the beautiful part about why even God will allow us to experience going astray, going on a cursed path. It is something that we choose and He allows. And the importance of this is to really understand it for ourselves. We have that choice. If we want to go down the straight path, and the wording straight doesn't mean that it goes linearly one direction. It means straight as in for us to let go of the excuses, to let go of the nonsense we create, the things that we desire that aren't really helping us, as well as, well, all the other things that can possibly lead us out of alignment. Let's just put it that way, in another way of saying it. And it is coming back into our current, in observing the Tao, being in Wu Wei or in Salat or being in spirit, however one may want to say it. It is about reconnecting to the energy that guides us and takes us on the straight path. Straight because it's actually less of a burden for us, less of, it's just an easier yoke to carry. So, coming back to the capybara. They're chill because they realize, why not? Why not have fun? But it doesn't mean why not have fun in a destructive way where they don't coexist. They actually coexist very well. And you may find capybaras are becoming very popular everywhere. Why? Because that is the energy we are embracing. This union, this oneness with all, oneness with everybody, oneness with all things. It's part of this era, this shift, this transitional energy that we need, and probably part of what we will be staying with for a very long time, because it's kind of going to be needed. What is an individual? An individual is an identity. But above that identity is the piercing star, the soul, the jinn, however we want to call that part of ourselves, the Atma, the Buddha, the part that is eternal. And then the question really comes down to, how are we embracing all of this? Because we are going to need all of ourselves in this next transition, not just half of yourself. There is a nice video I saw this morning about this lady sharing how we need to embrace the paradox. And this is it. You want to understand a little animal that embraces the paradox? They make impossible things happen, and they make them look trivial. Maybe there is a reason for that. Maybe that is why we are going to experience more. Doesn't mean we are a rodent that is a pest or anything else. No, rodents actually know how to thrive. And when they are in their elements, they find lots of solutions to lots of ways, and they will work together as one Yes, they can also be savage. So can we. And there is the Quran speaking, being chanted. I have two mosques around the building that I'm at in Malaysia right now, where I am staying at this time. And I'm going to pause it because it's a bit distracting. And I'm going to just stay here and go from there. Well, it finished. The paradox. We are in one state, whatever it might be. For some of us, it's survival. For others of us, it's thriving. For others, it's healing ourselves. You know, I was listening to Satnam's song, Om Namo. And I have no idea what it actually means. Something other than something my name. Or I am that I am is my name. I don't know how you may want to translate it. But she talks about how we've come here for healing. And in a way, you can look at it that way. There's nothing wrong with it. That is a completely, that is heavy. It is a completely valid experience. Nothing wrong with it. If I want to come here and experience healing, that I am somehow broken in any way and came here for healing, I'm allowed to. But if I want to experience that I am not broken and feel my full being, I'm also allowed to. And my full being, well, they're not lacking. They don't have a need. They don't have a want that they don't have, because everything is. And they're aware of what we're going through. They're fully aware of it. They're not fixing it because there's nothing to fix. That's the experience. And maybe your experience is that you want to experience that you can't fix it. And that's part of it. Maybe it's also for you to understand and get to the point where you find yourself and realize it never needed fixing. And in that state, it actually resolves itself. And that's the irony of all of this. I call it irony because it's just our own games. And when we allow ourselves to see our own games through honesty, we start to release the veils. The more veils we release, the more clarity we have. The more clarity we have, the more we see our true selves, our true nature. And you may go, well, where did these veils come from? Well, God creates them for us. Why? Because we're asking for them in our beliefs. We adopt beliefs. We adopt different expectations, rules. Let's just call some of them false moralities. The way the world tells us we should be versus how we actually are. You might go, what's the difference? False morality is from someone whose heart's not open. It's learning to be nice from the mind by looking at practices, looking at patterns, and then repeating them. Oh, I see this, so I'm going to do this. Oh, yes, I'm nice. I'm a loving person. No, you're really not. It's a start to start opening your heart. But when your heart's closed, you don't understand what actually being a kind, loving person is. A kind, loving person is not about niceness. Sometimes being kind doesn't look nice at all. It looks quite cruel. It doesn't mean it is cruel. But it might be what the person needs in a way we don't understand. And when we are trying to be nice all the time, oh, it's draining. You won't. You'll be tired every day, wondering, oh, why am I so tired? Why is life so difficult? Why am I so miserable? You're not being yourself. Pretty simple as that. But more than anything else is we're actually denying our true directions at times. I'm not saying we're being directed to hurt someone. It might look like that. But when we're coming from the heart, sometimes we are there to push someone in a way we don't understand. It's not for us. And it puts us in a place that looks really awful. And we can judge ourselves and then go, oh man, I'm just a cruel being. Or we can understand that that was something actually for them, and they're going to experience something. And it's their decision whether they take it as in, oh, you're a cruel being and you're being mean to me, and or they take it from their heart and actually feel it out. Why was this co-created? This coincidence, this incident between two people that we co-created. Why did we co-create it? And when we look at it from the heart, we may actually see something that they were triggering something for them to heal. And that's one of the hardest things to realize. We treat children as if they're doing something wrong all the time. Oh, you're doing this. You're making me mad. You're doing that. Yeah, good. Your child's making you mad. Maybe that's exactly what you needed right now. Maybe they are pointing to you the one thing that you were not aware of that you're doing, and now you're punishing them for the gift that they're giving you through their intuition. You're shutting down their intuition. You're shutting down who they are in their essence because it's not the way you want it. And that's part of the issue. Not the way we want it. You know, Buddha can be said he had no wants. What that meant was he understood that what he was creating was with a purpose. It wasn't to hurt him. It was for his best. It was his higher selves and sources and co-creation, creating things for all of us. And these times that we're going to go through may be very difficult. And it will be us who will decide from our intent what we're going to create. Are we going to go to this place of desperation where we are throwing children under a bus just to make sure we can eat as adults? Or we going, or others even, and getting nowhere? Or are we going to be at a place where we understand that as one, we all have gifts. We all have different purposes, different abilities within us that we have come down with to actually help us through this time, to build things, to create things, to experience things that will help lift one another up through these times that are coming. And I say these times because it really is up to us what we will create. Right now, we're creating stuff that ain't so good for us. And we're being lied to. One of the biggest lies we get told is these giant global things in the news that are happening. What people don't realize is when they connect to these things, they're actually helping the consciousness create them. What we have to do is disconnect and create them in a different way. Create different things even. As a collective, join up. Start believing in miracles. Start reconnecting to source, to your higher selves, to be able to connect to that which is the true love within each and every one of us. And there's a reason why the Quran starts with Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. In the name of the Almighty, the most gracious, the most giving, the most merciful. If your acts are not gracious, if they're not giving, if they are not merciful, then you are probably not following the voice or the part of you that is. Because your higher self has multiple aspects. And they also have parts which have been added through other layers of other experiences you've had. They don't fully affect them, but they will affect you. And that's part of dealing with our own negatives so that we can release that and go back to an energy like a capybara, for example. Thriving, chill, relax, ready for anything, including riding on the back of a crocodile, because it's a capybara. Crocodiles ain't no thing. That's part of this very, very long message, but it is one that is very important for all of us. The messages that come for us are not about scaring us. It's just an understanding. You have two options. Well, you have many options, but in simple logical aspects, you have two options. You go to the direction of love, or you go to the direction of your self-destruction, because everything will amplify. And as it amplifies, it will bring your own self-destruction if you don't release that which isn't serving you. And that is the hardest thing to understand. What isn't serving us is different for different people. But I can share from the vast majority of people in the world right now, the biggest thing that they deal with is stuck in that survival mode, the false morality, how we should behave, how we should all be. It doesn't exist. There is no should be. We just are. To assume that you are doing something wrong is to assume that God is not aware. It may not be helpful for you. It may not be good for others, but it doesn't mean you're not allowed to experience it. And God will put those who are interested in experiencing something similar together. There is no random coincidence. Every coincidence is co-created. We are always here co-creating as one, even if we are not aware of it. I hope this message is useful to someone at least, if not many. My biggest part has been to not ignore my messages, to share. It is my biggest message that has been coming through for days. It is people's choice. What I look like, what I experience as, what people might think of me, is irrelevant. The message is still the message. It is their hearts to choose. And if they choose from the mind and they look at all the little things that are wrong and everything else, they're the ones who will live with that experience. Not myself, not others, not the ones who are awakening, but the ones who want to pretend none of it is happening. We can call them deniers, we can call them deceivers, we can call them different things. It doesn't really matter. They're all just negative terms for someone who is hurting in their own way. We are all wounded in some way. It doesn't mean we're healing. The wound is just an experience. Many of us have cleared many of the wounds. Some of us, the wounds are subtle. Some of us, the wounds are deep. But all of us are still looking to reconnect with love. The question is, how do we do that? And go to your heart. Connect with your heart. And allow your heart to send you that which you are going to be able to connect with, to guide you. It starts with asking. It starts with acknowledging. It starts with you, for yourself. Not in a selfish way that people think it is, but it is good to be a little selfish, to give yourself love, but not at the expense of others. And I don't mean it as in we need to give everything to everyone else. It means your heart can give things that you're not even aware of. Let the miracles happen. Let us co-create miracles. Let us all unite through our hearts the way we were designed to in this world before we turn that off. Have a wonderful rest of your days, weeks, whatever it might be that you might need some loving care, support. May your higher selves and source bring you all the light and love that you need to get you through your journey. Thank you for listening. Take care.